FORA.tv. The world is thinking.
In addition to ensuring our nation's safety and reducing our dependence on foreign oil, would ensure others' safety across the globe, our reducing our dependence on foreign oil. Many Americans instinctively understand why freeing ourselves from our dependence on foreign oil will have positive repercussions on our national and economic security. The facts I stated earlier bear that out irrefutably. However, many people don't realize how freeing ourselves from foreign oil will help others across the globe. Thomas Friedman wrote an article for the April 2006 edition of Foreign Policy magazine titled "The First Law of Petropolitics," and I'm sure a number of you read that article or read reviews of it and read portions of it. In this article, Friedman points out that there is an inverse relationship between the price of oil and the march of democracy and human rights, an inverse relationship. In other words, as the price of oil goes up, the march of freedom and the advancement of human rights slows to a halt. Let me give you some examples. Recently, we've seen increasingly erratic and dangerous behavior from the president of Iran, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, and Hugo Chavez, president of Venezuela. I ask you this: would we see this same behavior if the price of oil was $25 a barrel, as opposed to over $65 a barrel? Or even put another way, would we be even paying attention? Would Ahmadinejad claimed loudly and publicly that the Holocaust was a myth and that Israel must be, quote, wiped off the map, end of quote, if they were not receiving a record price for their main export? Would Chavez act so brazenly if Venezuela's economy depended on empowering his people and engaging in free trade instead of simply pumping more oil from the ground? Friedman goes on to make the point that Bahrain was the first Arab Gulf country to hold a free and fair election, interesting, in which women could run and vote, and the first Arab state to undertake a total overhaul of its labor laws to make its own people more employable and less dependent on imported labor. Bahrain also happens to be the first Arab Gulf state predicted to run out of oil. Bahrain is also the first state to sign a free trade agreement with the United States. Interesting? I think so. A few years ago, we watched the Cedar Revolution, where freedom-loving activists in Lebanon pushed Syrian troops out of their country. Is it a coincidence that the first true democracy in the Arab world happens to not have a drop of oil beneath their land? Now, I realize there's problems with Lebanon. I don't want to mitigate any of those. But I think Thomas Friedman's got an interesting point here, and I don't think it's just coincidence. No, it's not a coincidence. As Friedman effectively points out, in 1997, when the price of oil was below $20 a barrel, Iran was calling for a dialogue of civilizations. Now, the oil nearly $70 a barrel is rolling. Iran is calling for the elimination of sovereign states and is making a mockery of global concerns over its desires for a nuclear weapon.